Hey guys, this is going to be a little bit longer of a video because I'm going to do it in real time, even from the very beginning, even from walking into the bathroom. So in case you guys are curious, I think it's probably been a year since I've done this style, and so this may be one to fast forward through, or if you are just looking for a quick review, this may not be a good video for you to check out. If I have the time, maybe in the YouTube comments I will put an outline about the different times when things start that might make it a little easier to find certain sections. Man, it would be great if I could do that each day, wouldn't it? But that's a little bit too much work of a time commitment in addition to the write-ups and things that I do, and I just can't quite handle that. So I've just walked into the bathroom with my stuff, and it depends on where I am, but in many cases I have all my stuff kind of in my lather bowl here. My brush is usually sticking out as well, and then my soap, and of course I've got my cell phone as well. And I'll sit down, and I do have prescribed places on my tiny square sink here. Square meaning oval sink, but with the corners having spaces to put things. And so that's my organization. And so then I'll start divvying up, put things to places. Bottom left goes the soap. Today is Loyal from Chiseled Face, and it's the Silk Tallow version. Then I will put my bowl in the upper left-hand corner, my upper left hand, and then my razor today will be the Guerrilla Open Comb from Wolfman. Looking forward to using this mild razor with a nice sharp blade today. That blade is Gillette Silver Blue. It is not my marathon blade. It is the which has maybe 30 uses on it or so. This is the one that I'm using just to have a fresh blade for testing and evaluating razors. And indeed, this Wolfman I haven't had too many blades in. So this will be probably my first. I did try it with a Wizamet, which was a good shave, I believe. And so that might be my first real, fresh blade. And this will be my second. And so I do usually take a photograph with it, of course, the thumbnail, for the YouTube videos and stuff. So I'll take it out of the wrappers. I'll put the wrapper over here on the left, and that will get a dot on it at the end of the shave. And so then I do like to show the blade, because some blades will switch from an ink type printing to a laser, and so sometimes it's good to actually see it. Plus, if somebody finds a blade in their collection that is in an envelope that is unidentified, then maybe my videos can help to identify it. And then I'll lay it about halfway off the sink, that way it's easy to pick up without touching the edges. One of the first things I do when I come in is to actually take my this is a yogurt cup, yogurt glass container here, and I will stick whatever brush I have, especially if it's a boar brush. Today's brush is the Zenith B23. I'm enjoying it now that it's getting some more uses on it. And so I will start that soaking, because I want to get enough minutes. I want to get as many minutes as I can. And so while I'm putting together the rest of my gear, that is soaking. And so that's why usually when you see me take that shave of the day picture or the thumbnail that goes for YouTube, it is a wet brush, because it has been soaking for a couple of minutes. All right, and so the brush, my upper right hand, razor, my lower right hand, and so that covers the right hand side things. I will sometimes then also show the post shave. I have moved kind of my post shaves around a little bit. It used to be they were all in a drawer down below this sink, and so I never really showed it to you during the video until the very end when it came time to choose it. It was usually a, well, let's see what we've got today kind of situation. All right, now usually I'll then pick out the blade. I have shown you my little credit card case before that I use as a blade dispensary. Keeps all of them flat, keeps them dry and safe, and so then I'll pick out the blade. Obviously I already had to have this blade out to do the set of the day picture that I did just a minute ago. Inside that little yogurt cup in the very beginning, I'll have to remove a few things because it's really handy to keep these 3 vertical things in there. Putting dots on the blade to show how many times I've used them. Of course, you know my syringe that I use to add water to the lather. And then if I have a sample, I have my 1/4 teaspoon measure. And I did specifically choose one like this that had, it's an inexpensive one. You can see how thin it is. It's got a lot of flex to it. However, it's got this, which I don't really like the flex, but it's also thin here. And so it makes it really easy to kind of melon ball out a chunk of soap. If it was really thick, like some of the plastic measuring spoons, that starts to push soap around instead of cutting through it. So I really like this one. Don't need to use him today, so I'll just put him over here to the side. I will then reach up and get a towel, a washcloth that I have always up there. I just keep it in the bathroom, and I'll fold it in half. And I have a windowsill over here that contains all of the items that are kind of wet and don't want to put them over there to let them dry. So that's what that is. So I'll put that there, and I believe we are ready to go. And then I'll start, at this point, I'll start the video recording, and I will show you all the pieces. Of course, I've already done that. And one of the first things I like to do, as you probably know, is remove that paper from the blade, because then at first my hands are dry, so that doesn't get any wetness on the paper. But after that, everything's fair game. I can go ahead and, now I like to put the blade back here on my palm. That usually works pretty well. Now you can, with this Wolfman, because like the Game Changer, the posts are on the base plate, you could load it this way and put the blade on top. But you know, to be honest, the blade always just seems to move on me. And so I kind of treat it like the normal style of old types and, you know, Edwin Jagger DE89, you know, that sort of thing. And I just load it in that way. And then once I get it up here, with this guy, I start to gradually tighten it. And then the blade usually magically has found the right spot. And there we go. Alright, then I always check alignment just to make sure that I haven't done anything wrong. Often I will show the viewer the gap. This phone doesn't quite have the same there we go. That might be a little better, but the focusing on this camera is not quite as good. So I'm really looking forward to this shave with this guy. Alright, he's loaded up. By now the brush has often had about 5 minutes of soaking time, and that's 3 minutes is about my personal minimum that I like. If it's a brush that is maybe in the 12 uses or less, 15 uses or less, and it's a bore brush, sometimes I might even have it soaking up to an hour before, especially if it's going to be a part of my borathon. I do like that as a slight break-in accelerator, that longer soak. Alright. Of course, you know, in the beginning of the video I introduce all the pieces: soap, razor, blade, and brush. And then you probably saw in my bowl, I had this little notepad, and I've got a few of these floating around. I haven't quite settled on one, you know, but basically I write down notes, and it's almost always the scent description. I did write down here, and I held it up to do the, you know, set of the day photograph for the little blurb quick video I did about requesting austere August ideas from you guys. And so I do use it for just whatever, but usually you can see my chicken scratch, but today we're using silk tallow, and it's loyal from Chiseled Face. And then I'll write just any information I want to pass on to you guys, and there's the notes. And then the last time I used it, I happened to be using that blade, and I didn't want to forget the name of the blade, and so I wrote it down specifically. And so the good news is I now have this. I can just read it now to you instead of having to rewrite everything. If I keep everything in the same book, I can just refine that same soap's description. Someday I might get fancy and have a second device, and that always has the active soap's description on it. Wouldn't that be neat? But for now, we'll keep it old school. Besides, sometimes I have written down the note list, left it in my office, gotten here, because I wrote it down manually, I ended up not needing to go retrieve it, and I was able to tell you guys the different notes. Unless it's a big list like this, I'm not going to have a chance of remembering all these. All right. All right, so I'll leave this face up, and I'll put it down to this side over here for reference later. Sometimes I pick it up and look at it. Sometimes I just look at it from a distance. I'm going to put this pencil on the page so that it holds it down. Keeps it open for me. Okay, then we're going to, before I do the lather, I like to wet my face so that as I'm mixing lather, my stubble gets softer and my skin starts to absorb a little water. At that point, I'll say that I have hard water here, and I'll tell you how long my growth has been, so that sometimes that's relevant in a shave. It's about 1.5 days of growth today, so this guy is going to have a fun time mowing through that. I don't think it's going to have a problem at all. Now that the face is wet, we can start with the soap, and we'll load. And from now on, it's pretty much a normal video. I'll shake much of the water out here. And then I do like to show you the color of the soap and the condition of it, that sort of thing. This is tempting soap where I walk up to it, Tootsie Roll kind of jumps out at me a little bit, and that's because it's got coffee, caramel, amber, vanilla. I think all those guys kind of rolled into one can give the impression of that type of scent. Now there are other notes, and I wish they were stronger, like the Old Spice notes, the car fumes, the cedar, the musk, the leather. I wish those were stronger, because then they would help to really overpower the sweeter, more gourmand type, foodie, sweet notes. And that's also why I'm giving this soap another try now, because I used Santal Noir a couple of times. I got a whole different impression with it. I was able to see and smell more complexity the second time I used it as opposed to the first. And I'm hoping the same thing happens with this guy. All right. So, and then I start to think about what kind of load time do I want. 30 seconds is often my baseline. Many soaps only need 20. This is a stiff brush. This was used within the last couple of weeks, so it hasn't sat around for a year needing moisture. So I think let's try 25, because this is a young boar. It could possibly eat up some lather, so let's do 25. All right. I deducted some just so I don't get tons of lather, but then I added a little bit of time because it's an eat 'em up lather type boar that's got a lot of stiffness to it, and so that's why I'm not straying too far from 30 seconds. Okay, so then I watch my phone timer. 40 goes right there, and I usually try to say it out loud because I am really bad if I don't say it to forget. And so 10 seconds is when I'm going to stop on the next minute. Moderate pressure. Sometimes how it bubbles up is a telling factor. If it bubbles up really quickly, you might have too much water in your brush. 3 more seconds. Oh wait. Well, it's a 30-second load. Whoops. And that might be about right, because look, I try to show you the brush, because sometimes a 30-second load, depending on the water in your brush, depending on the soap base, can look totally different from one soap to another. We do have soap on the side of the container. I want to get rid of that so that the container always screws in cleanly. We don't have any buildup there. Now, since this is, of course, a little wet, it's a good candidate for my washcloth over there. And then we'll just start cranking on the lather. I'm cutting off my eyes a little bit because I have this old phone that it's kind of a narrow field of view. I want to make it a little easier to show you the lather, and so I don't mind cutting off the top of my head. Would it be funny if I was able to like do a whole shave with some kind of big foam cowboy hat on my head and you never notice until maybe the very end, when all of a sudden I'd dip down to do a rinse and there'd be some ridiculous thing on my head. Now, we have been scrubbing for a minute and there is not very much there. That is a sign that we just didn't pick up that much soap. So, I should have looked at my notes. Let's go ahead and do 15 seconds more. Oh, 45 rolled around right there. So now we can go to 01 and we'll have 15 seconds of extra. This may give me too much soap, but that's really okay. Someday I'll learn my lesson and give a good review to my previous notes. If it's a bore that I have that's staying pretty narrow, not splaying all that much, especially if it's an omega that's slow to split, slow to be soft, slow to be comfortable, then sometimes I'll give more than medium pressure here in the bowl and really kind of thrash it around a little bit, but never pressing more than 80%, more than 75%. I never get that donut effect that you might have seen some people have where they're really plunging the brush, quite a bit. Now this lather doesn't puff up and be all airy and bubbly like some of them do, and so it could be deceptive. And so like right now we still don't have a lot of lather, but let's wait now, because I did do 45 seconds of loading. Let's wait until we add some water to it. 2 teaspoons. I just went kind of right in with a pretty big amount. Let's just see, because I can just go back to the puck for another 10 seconds or 15 seconds if this doesn't come up with a little bit more volume. It's not immediately coming in. So that's 45 seconds of loading. I believe in my mind I'm remembering this soap needing some more load time. Indeed, it is. It's still got a lot of bubbles, but that's okay because I did just add 2 teaspoons of water. It might take a bit to get those out. Another minute of working it. So let's go back for another 15 seconds, and so that'll make a full minute of loading. Now it is definitely a denser. Look at that. We got a denser type paste here. That's encouraging. Because when it's that dense, usually it means you've gotten a good bit of soap on your brush. This is, I think, one case where most might agree that this is a pro about bowl lathering, because if I started with such a light lather on my face, well, I don't know, I guess I'd pick it up pretty quickly, but then you just got this wetness on your face, and but you just go back to the soap and add more, so I guess it's not a big deal. I guess it's not really a pro for bowl lathering, but because with face lathering, you notice and then go back for more soap, Now, since we do have 2 teaspoons of water in it, I would expect it to get maybe a little too thick, because usually I'm needing to add about 3.5 teaspoons of water to get enough for a shave. Now, let's do a little smelling. Oh, see, yeah. There we go. What's coming in now? The leather. And maybe some of the Old Spice notes. Yeah, a little bit of cedar. Oh, that's nice. See, there we go. That's the way I was hoping it would go. The Tootsie Roll scent has disappeared, and I believe I remember saying that as well in that first time I used it, that you could smell it, kind of chocolatey at first, but it didn't stick around as a dominant part forever. But I don't have a lot of lather. Since this is a firm brush, if this was a really soft brush, I might go with it. Since this guy's so firm, I think he might eat through this lather a little quicker and just not feel quite as good on my face. So I'm going to scrape the kind of the excess out of the brush and go back for, let's just do another 15 seconds. 35, go to 50. And I'm kind of getting tired of rinsing off the threads of this thing. Okay, so now it should thicken up because we keep adding more soap but not more water. And maybe I'll need to add another ½ teaspoon of water. Who knows? Well, I'm sorry, we're kind of making a long video a little longer, but at least you can, for those of you who are wondering, you can see how one of the ways that I sometimes rescue a weak lather where I haven't quite loaded enough and I just didn't know it from the beginning. Yeah, that's thickening up some more. I think I feel pretty good about that. Still not tons of lather available, but it looks like it'll be enough to do the job. Okay. Now water on my face before I start lathering. And as you noticed, I usually don't do a pre-shave that involves any kind of soap. And so I have oils on my skin, naturally oily skin, and often that first pass, part of his job is to dispel that. I love the story behind this soap. I believe Chiseled Face main guy's name is Ron. He said that this one was not intending to be some kind of scent masterpiece. This was a time capsule and an homage to blue-collar fathers. I think this brush may have the tendency to store water that it's hard for me to get to. I'm going to go in for another kind of 3 seconds here. I think I have definitely kind of had some wet bits come out of this soap, and I declare I've worked it really hard in the bowl. So Ron's goal was a time capsule, and so that's why he's got notes of cedar, classic Old Spice, musk, leather, coffee, caramel, vanilla, amber, soil, petrichor, and car fumes. Quite a nice assortment. They all work together well in the ratios that he's got them in. I'd say it's about a 4 or 5 in terms of scent strength right now. I'm glad this brush has been used as many times. It's got nice soft tips, and so I'm not giving myself brush burn. However, it is kind of lagging around. It's not staying in the splay very well because there's just not very much soap at play here. Lather, of course, that's what I mean at play. Now, I prefer it if my lather isn't messy, if I don't end up with it all over my shirt, but I'm kind of getting used to it as time goes by here. All right, here we go, the open comb. I love the solid bar of the Guerrilla. It's a mild razor, but it's just so solid. It holds the blade very closely right to the edge of the blade. So you get a consistent smooth shave. It is not vibrating microscopically as it moves across your skin. The open comb here, of course, makes it just a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more blade exposure. Let's see how it works with this kind of a fresh, more normal blade. Well, that is just amazing. Almost no blade chatter because it's holding it so close to the edge. And it's moving through the hair easily. See, I use mild blades all the time. And for you new guys, what I'm doing is I will use usually one side of the blade until it kind of fills up with soap, and then I'll flip it over to the other side and use that until it fills up, and then I will rinse it out. Some people, and I think it's kind of crazy, but who am I? I've used a blade 302 times. Some people will just use one side and they'll track, which side, and then the next time they shave, they'll flip the razor around. I just do it random. It's a lot easier not to keep track of it that way. And as long as you let each side fill up the same amount, your wear is going to end up to be the same really over time. And so I am very fine with that. This is a mild razor, and so I'm going to hit this area again with some lather from my goatee. How handy of it. I got a good cut the other day right over here. You guys did see it. I was able to show the blood on the end of the video because the razor actually kind of slipped out of my hand and I had it too close to my face. Alright, and so now we're done with that first pass, and I'll rinse. Just a half rinse really. I definitely come up with soap on my face still sometimes. Because, why not leave a little bit of that slickness and moisture on your face for the next pass? I'll also mentally think about the slickness, the softness that I feel, so that I can relay it to you guys. Is it luxurious? Is it just buttery smooth? Is it so slick that it stays slick and doesn't want to rinse away? Is it kind of a light soapy slickness that's easy to rinse? Those are some of the things I'm thinking about that I want to convey to you guys so you get well-informed information. Well-informed information. So that you guys get good, relevant information about the shave. Alright. As you can see, it's a kind of a thin lather right now. We're not looking at some big foamy thing, and that's okay because what? We just need a thin layer of slickness to protect the skin against the blade. I'll do cross grain as the second pass. I'm also thinking about the drag of the razor. the how well it glides across the skin. How much blade feel am I getting? This is getting me very little blade feel. There's just a little bit of drag here that sometimes isn't there. We are cutting through, you know, quite a bit of stubble, and I believe the first pass just did not have a problem taking that down. So there, I've definitely seen some people online talk about, well, I like to use this razor for days when I, you know, skip a day, and then this is one where if I've shaved the day before, I'll use this one. And I could, you know, I mean, why not vary that if you want to? But for you new guys out there, you don't have to do that at all. I have several very mild razors. Testina Gentile from Fatip. Gillette Tech, very mild razor. Razor Rock Mamba, original, very nice, very mild razor. And this one right here, same. And they all with a nice sharp blade, like for me, an Astra Platinum, a Gillette Silver Blue, a Gillette Platinum, any of those guys, just easily cuts through multiple days of growth without a problem at all. I don't need to have anything aggressive for that purpose. All right, and so we have eliminated, that's the second pass down, rinse. This is leaving a lot of that nice silky goodness on my face. So the feel is luxurious, is tremendous with this soap. Not a lot of soap is loading into the brush here. However, it is plenty to do the job. Next time I may just have to load it a lot more just so that I have more to play with. Last time here, oh, you know what I've been doing? I'm forgetting to get the water out of my goatee. That might have been kind of flushing out a couple of my passes. Sometimes little user mistakes like that can really affect things. And again, don't have to worry about a thick layer. And look how wet everything is. See, I think this knot just carries wetness in it. I'll have to figure out a way to kind of come against that so it doesn't sneak up on me like it has this time. I even tried I didn't remember that. And as I was mixing up the lather in the bowl, I tried to push extra hard to kind of make sure I got maybe some of that soap up into that wetness core. All right. So it's up. It's a messy shave. And we will do cross grain again. I don't do against the grain. I could do it on my face, on my cheeks, because I don't think I get irritation by doing that on my cheeks. I do definitely get irritation on my neck if I do that. I do feel a little bit of tenderness in that spot that I cut myself the other time, but in general it's okay. And always I try to mention some of the big important ideas, like a light touch. Just try to hold it close enough to your skin to have contact, and just have it kind of lightly glide, dance across your skin instead of doing any kind of pressure. I try not to bend my skin as I'm moving the razor over it. People say no pressure, but that really kind of only works on the side of your face, because you have to put some pressure when you're on the underside of your face, because you're having to work against gravity. But maybe the idea of no pressure is a good one to communicate to newbies, because then that it conveys that you really, really don't need very much pressure at all. All right, we are looking good. That's 3, and so I will kind of Oh, that's a nice, good, close cut right there. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I don't feel like I need to do any more passes. Plus, with that little kind of wounded area right there, feeling a little tender this time, I don't want to overshave it at all. Matter of fact, I might have rather, in retrospect, only shave that particular area twice instead of 3 passes, but oh well. Alright, so now we'll do the final rinse, and normally I would pause you for that. I'm going to go ahead and pause you because you don't need to worry about that. Alright, the kind of full rinse is done, and time to clean up soap from my face, water out of the goatee. Now that the face is dry, that's when I can actually get an accurate look at the closeness of the cut. Yeah, there's some tip length on a few of them, so this might be a razor where I hunt around for a couple of blades that are my favorite, that cut really, that work well with it, but this is a decent cut. I'm happy with it. And if you could go against the grain, then yeah, I'm really sure you're going to get a nice shave with this razor. Alright, so we do still have enough for, I could probably put together a pass with that. I like to record that because if I know how many passes my water and soap ratio gave me, then I can adjust for next time. And so right now I am doing 2 things. I'm washing all that lather out of my bowl, tilting the bowl over to the side a little bit so that a lot of the water splashes out. And at the same time, I'm also rinsing my brush. Got to get all that soap out of there, or the chemicals in the soap will gradually eat away at the bristles. Alright, the soap bowl is clean. I now shake kind of back and forth like this inside the sink so that we get standing water out of the bore. I do that with any brush. And then I do some stropping, turning the brush 90 degrees so that we are kind of working the brush in some different angles. Try not to let the towel fall down. If it's a bore that's being kind of resistant, I don't mind being vigorous. Resistant meaning slow to splay, slow to have the tips split. Now by this time we definitely don't have any standing water in the brush, and there only a light amount of water is even felt at this point. I will then show you the splay at the end of the shave usually, so that as the bores change over time, maybe that's a little bit of a milestone, a little landmark that we can watch the brush and how it behaves. And this guy is gradually widening out. More of the side guys are coming out, and quite a few of these bristles around here have split, 1/4 of an inch or so. So that's really good, and probably why it's so comfortable. A lot of these bristles seem to be kind of turned so that they're angled in toward the center of the brush. I find that very interesting. I've had one other brush do this. This does feel like a nice dense bore brush. I like that aspect of it. And I also open it up to allow air to get in to help with drying. I put it over here to the side. I will now do a final rinse of the threads of this tub. The soap also, I put it on the side. I keep it open during the shave so that it can dry a little bit. And some people like to leave their soaps open for 24 hours, but I think that lets too much scent out. I leave it open during the shave, which in many cases is 30 minutes, 40 minutes, somewhere around there, and I think that's plenty enough. It is, after all, soap, and it's a horrible environment for bacteria and mold to try to grow in most cases, unless there's been some kind of manufacturing mistake. 2 teaspoons was all I put into that. So 55 I think 75 seconds is the load time by the time you kind of add everything up. 2 teaspoons of water for 75 seconds of loading. That is interesting. I'm definitely going to be looking back. I did weigh this soap, and so in the future I'll be able to watch and see how much I've used per time. I think I have one more shave before we start with Austere August, and I wanted to get this one in. I'm so glad I did, because I really did pick up some more of the notes that I was hoping to, and it's not strong. It is available on their site right now. It is an original scent put together by Chiseled Face, and I'm a big fan. I wish it was a little bit stronger, but still, I'm really happy with it. I'm glad that it kind of lost a little bit of that chocolate nature by the time it got into real lather form. Some of those great things like cedar, the classic Old Spice, car fumes, musk, leather, those things jumped out and joined with the coffee and all that. The sweetness of the caramel, amber, and vanilla definitely faded during lather form, instead of where they're easily picked up in the dry tub scent. All right, very good. I am a happy camper with this shave. This is an enjoyable razor to use. Can't really get them anymore, and so it's a bit rare, and so I'm going to keep putting blades in it and just kind of enjoy it. I may sell it someday if I'm just never really able to find, some kind of good blade match for it, but for right now I'm really enjoying it. This handle that they made for the Guerillas, it is a tube. It's a 3-part. It's got a plug here, and then the ferrule plug here, and it's an empty tube inside there. Otherwise it'd be humongously heavy. But it's brushed steel, and it looks like it might be slick when wet, but it is not. Because of that brushed steel, I believe that brushing produces microscopic little ridges that you don't even see. You can kind of hear them if you move your fingernail up and down in this direction. But that works to keep it in your hand. I know that was a common question when the Wolfman was live and people were testing it and giving their opinions about it. But that is just not a concern. So I will then take all the razor pieces, I'll disassemble it, I'll put them all individually on the washcloth over there and dab them a little bit so they can just kind of start drying. And then I'll start cleaning up. I'll tell you guys, hey, time for me to clean up. And so be it. I've already cleaned the bowl. I will now take my little yogurt cup, dump out the water. So it is now ready to receive the items. I'll need my Sharpie, so I'm not going to put it in there yet. I haven't put my dot on the blade wrapper. Ah, yes, let us put on some aftershave. This one is the 2017 limited edition for damnfineshave.com from L&L Grooming, which is now called Declaration Grooming. If this has too much menthol, I may be making a mistake. I can't remember. I like the scent. I think in general it should go well with the loyal. Because of an injury here, I can't quite get my hand in the normal places, so I have to look a little bit odd when I'm applying stuff like this to my neck. Yeah, I've got the little bit of menthol coming up to my eyeballs, making them fumy a little bit. Okay, and we'll dry out the lather bowl. You know, I've always mentioned that this is my Roger Quintero lather bowl. You know, I started saying that in the very beginning because this is a gift from Roger himself. He's the designer of the 3D bowl here, and I, just as a thank you, just wanted to give him credit and attribution for his excellent work and his generosity with printing this bowl for me. And then it realized me when, in day one of the lather games, when I had somebody call it the Antonio Banderas bowl, because they were making fun of, and it hit me, wait a minute, I always say the guy's name, and I'm not trying to be pretentious at all, You know, the bowl is for free. You know, the plans are available for free, you know, online. So it's not like it's some kind of expensive thing, but I realized in giving him credit and attribution each time, I just never quit, you know. And so for maybe a year, year and a half, maybe even 2 years, I've been saying that. So I might not say his name quite as much anymore. I'm still very grateful and appreciative. And I always, of course, include a link when I use this bowl. I try to always have a link to the plans here in the description of the video. On SugarDaddyShaves.com, I've also got a page that talks about 3 different online printing services that my viewers have used to make their own bowls if they didn't have a 3D printer on hand. And so you can go to SugarDaddyShaves.com to find that out. Look for the 3D printing page on the left-hand menu. I'll try to start putting a link to that in my videos as well. All right. Everything's starting to be clean. Okay, now I would go over here and I'm going to go off camera because we're kind of keeping the time about right. 46 minutes. I've kind of been explaining everything, and I don't usually explain the how-tos of how I make a video, so it is going to be a little bit longer than a normal video. So I guess I will pause you while I dry up these razor parts. So I pat the blade dry over there in the washcloth. I don't wipe it, I don't strop it. I generally don't dip it in alcohol or anything like that. I don't do a palm strop or a jean strop or anything like that. I just fold the washcloth over on the blade and dab it, tap it very carefully, and then once it's dry I put it back in its, unless I know I'm going to use it tomorrow, the next shave, put it back in its paper. I put the dot with the Sharpie marker. The Sharpie can now go back in the yogurt container with the other vertical items. And then I take this guy. Here's my other Gillette Silver Blue, that is the Marathon one. And I put, because I don't have tons of space in here, I put one on top of the other. Close it gently. Yeah, this is a nice scent with this. I may actually stop using this because the menthol to me is a little distracting. For you know, the first 15 minutes here, I'm not able to enjoy the scent very much because that menthol is just the only thing in front of me. I guess if you're in a warmer climate or you need that kind of lift, and if you're a morning shaver, I could definitely understand how you might like that though. Alright, well, everything's pretty much together and ready to go. I'll fold my washcloth back up and put it up here on the shelf. And then I'll give you my final summary of how the shave went. And sometimes during the cleanup process, things will pop into my head, and so I'll hit the unpause button and give it to you, and then hit you pause again and resume cleanup. All right. Like I said, it usually doesn't take me in real time 48 minutes to do all this, but more like 38. You know, I've probably used an extra 10 minutes of talking about this very process of how I bring a video to you guys. So that's adding time to this particular shave. I've talked about how I enjoyed the scent, enjoyed the performance pretty well. I probably would have liked it a little better if didn't have to go back to the soap quite as much. I wish I would have loaded a little bit more. So I'll definitely write all that down and try to remember it and remember to look at it next time. Really happy with the soap. Glad I bought it. I like the silkiness of the base. I like the notes that are coming out when it's in shave lather. The blades seem to be a good match for this razor, so that's good. I believe the video may have cut off. I reached the maximum file size there because my video went so long, and instead of starting it immediately a video over again, it basically just hit stop. So I'm sorry, you probably have gotten some information cut out, but I bet you can figure out what it was. I'm happy with the soap, happy with the blade and razor, although not super effective right here, but maybe that's right, I was a little tender and careful with not over shaving this area because of the prior cut, and I'm happy I did that, but that also probably meant I didn't get quite as good of a shave because I didn't do certain directional passes that I usually do. Happy with the brush, the way the brush is proceeding. I think it's almost 10 uses, and it is comfortable on the face, And I'm really happy about that. I love the ergonomics of the handle. It's so young. It's going to open up more. It's going to relax more. More tips are going to split, so it's going to get softer. So it is definitely heading in a direction that I'm really happy about. My friend Buzz out there is a YouTube viewer. He has the same brush, and he is ahead of me in its age, and so I love how we communicate a little bit about that. And he's thinking I'm going to like it as well, and from what I've experienced so far, I'm confident that I will. I think it's starting off a little bit too firm, a little bit too much backbone, but that's okay because bores change a lot over time, and so it's not going to get more backbone. It's going to get a little bit less. It's going to splay open, and I think I'm just really going to like how this brush ends up. This Zenith B23. He has the B29. I believe the only difference is the color of the handle. I think the B29 is that neat mottled blue look, where the B23 is a solid black. I got this used, and so I did not get to pick what color I wanted. I decided to go save a few bucks and get it used instead of, I may have chosen black anyway. I kind of like the look of the blue though. But I'm happy with it. Looking forward to many good shaves with it. Alright guys, well there we go. So that is the kind of real-time with commentary about the way I bring a shave video to you guys. Now everything's pretty much gathered up. I'll just put it all up in my arms, head on back to my office where most of it's stored. Alright you guys. Oh, hey, a little update on my son. We picked him up from the hospital today. He did end up spending 2 nights in the hospital, and the second one was mainly just for observation because he was heading in a good direction with his snakebite. Everybody is saying we're looking at a juvenile copperhead. It was his right hand, and it bit him right on the side of the middle finger as he was reaching to grab a garden hose that was near a bush. And a lot of pain in the beginning. He was feeling better the next day, and right now he's behaving very normally, and I'm really happy that Advil and Tylenol are both seemingly enough pain relief to keep him in a good place, and that's really encouraging. I'm glad we're not having to put some heavier medication into him, because that often means that you're dealing with a lot more pain, and I'm really happy about that. He's going to bounce back, have a great story. He may have to avoid the bushes for a while, but he's doing better. His hand still looks kind of gruesome. The doctors say maybe about a month to full recovery, but he's in good spirits, not in a lot of pain at all, and right now he's just having to deal with using his left hand for things because it is kind of weepy and bloody, and he has to keep it gauzed up. So a few more days of that is what we're looking like. Have to irrigate the wound and clean it twice a day, so there's some maintenance things that are going on, but for the main goals, the main important factors, it looks like he's not going to need surgery for it, and that's a great thing as well. So for those of you who have voiced concern, I know Buzz, I appreciate your kind words about well wishes for him. For those of you who pray, I appreciate it if you would pray for a good healing, good proper healing, because it'd be great if he didn't have to have surgery or anything like that. All right now. That is it. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves, and I sure hope this video is going to help you out in some way, give you an idea about what goes on behind the scenes during those pause moments where I do try to shorten the videos a little bit while I'm rinsing or gathering stuff up, setting up, cleaning down, tearing down, that sort of thing. But a little behind the scenes look today. All right, guys, take care. Good night.